As Xbox Series X owners, we're constantly getting things, features, tools, things that are increasing our joy, our quality of life with our consoles, and I think that's a really cool thing. But there is one thing that was kind of added that we need to get addressed because honestly, it's going to have to be fixed at some particular point. Now, at the end of the day, what's going to happen with this? Listen, I don't really know, but I know that I've tried it out personally and I found that it worked pretty good. So I wanted to pass the knowledge on to you fine folks because, again, we all have different types of things that we deal with, and I'm glad that our Xboxes can get updates and things like that. But have you ever been playing your Xbox and you kind of, you want to get a boost out of it or something along those lines, or maybe something looks muddy and looks out of place and maybe it shouldn't? This is something that is happening more and more to Xboxes. So Xbox Series X and S users are being urged to switch off a feature found in the console settings. There's a surprising amount of versatility when it comes to the settings, with plenty of hidden features you probably didn't even know about unless you regularly root through the menus and things like that, like I do, and I'm a big ass nerd, so you can kind of keep an eye on what's coming and what's going and these types of things. So again, everybody's different, everything is different, so when these types of things come about, I like to kind of pass them on and say, hey, you know what, this could enhance your experience with your console, man. And who doesn't want an experience enhancing thing for their console? Am I right? Of course I'm right. I'm usually right. So anyway, with that being said, it's interesting along these lines. So now it looks like some gamers are urging others to go into the settings and switch off a feature for better overall experience and actual boost in clarity. According to this, it's implied that some gamers and some games look awfully muddy and indistinct and mushed together when the system's HDR was switched on, which obviously this is just a setting that tells your TV to enable HDR when playing games for what's supposed to be a clearer and better picture overall. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. There can be some interesting issues when that kind of comes along, and that's not always going to be something that doesn't need to be talked about. Hopefully Microsoft can address that. Turns out some TVs don't need the Xbox to tell it when to enable HDR and when not to, so sometimes having it switched on doesn't make a difference anyway. So if you've been playing games that look a bit off, maybe washed out, maybe the color doesn't look right, then it might be your console playing tricks on you, in which case you should definitely check out this article down below, which I'm going to link, that shows you how to kind of deal with this. So anyway, try to see if anything changes with this. Access your console's HDR settings. You'll need to navigate through settings, general TV and display options, video modes, and then you can turn it off, and there you have it. A hidden trick that you maybe didn't know about before. So there's plenty more that you can check out and do. There's a lot of features and things that are hidden. You would think that turning HDR on would be something that would be you'd want, right? Like we all, if you have an Xbox Series X or S, you probably have an HDR TV. And the funny thing is, it's one of those things where you want it to be on all the time, but at the same time, if it's actually hampering your graphics and your games, then again, I think that that's a bit unfortunate, and I can understand why people would want to kind of tune that out and turn it off, because it's going to enable it anyway. What's happening is there's some issues there, and so that's what's causing the blur and things like that. So again, maybe that's not helpful to everybody, but I think that clearly, it could be helpful to some if you've ever experienced this type of issue in the past. So, again, not everybody's going to have this, and not everybody's going to have to deal with this. It's something that I had personally with some games, but other than that, I think the Xbox Series X has been a pretty wonderful buy since day one. It's unfortunate that it's in the position that it's in terms of sales wise, but at the end of the day, the console itself is a wonderful console. I'm actually kind of hopeful, to be quite honest about it, that the Xbox Series X will get better utilized once the PS5 Pro releases. And I know that might sound funny to you guys, but what happens is, and this is factual, you can see developers talk about it, the PS5 is so far ahead of the Xbox Series X that unfortunately You know, when they put games out, they focus on making these games run on the lesser hardware that is the PS5. So then they port up, which is the really dumb way to do things. Like, things always work out better if you port down, because then you can enable a lot of different things. Like the Xbox Series X has the ability to do a lot of things differently and natively than the PS5. But since the PS5 is in so many more homes and things like that, they always kind of make it for the PlayStation 5 first, which is kind of unfortunate. So a lot of the hardware capabilities kind of go to waste on the Xbox Series X. But the PS5 Pro should be able to do the hardware capabilities and things that have that the Xbox Series X have. So they should be able to port that down and better utilize what the Xbox Series X can do. Because I've sitting here for years wondering why PS5 games look better or have slightly better performance or better frame rates or whatever than the Xbox Series X, despite the fact that the Series X is no doubt better, and things like that. So, again, I know people are going to probably look at that and think that it's just a fanboy statement or whatever, but it's actually pretty factual that the Xbox Series X has is a stronger console overall. But again, I'm not knocking the PS5. I think the PS5 is a capable console. I just think the Xbox Series X has had the ability to do some things. Microsoft really had some forethought with that. If you look at the way that they did things, even with the Xbox One, with those SKUs, right? So if you guys notice, the number of 120 frames per second games that Xbox Series X and S have dwarfs that of the PS5. Reason being is because last generation, built into the kits were the ability to support 120 frames per second on Xbox One games, right? Yes, there weren't games that could do 120 frames per second on Xbox One, but it meant when you go forward that the ability would be there and you wouldn't need any kind of updates and things like that. That is why the PS5 cannot support the 120. It was like when the Mass Effect collection came out. You guys remember that? I was super excited to play through that again. It's like, what do you want to get in on, Xbox or PlayStation 5? Well, Xbox, I could play at 120 frames. PS5, you were locked at 60. So, I chose the 120, and it was a great experience to play through it like that. So, it was just really cool things like that I feel like are underutilized and under talked about on the Xbox, And again, that's not a knock on PlayStation 5, because the PlayStation 5 is capable of doing that on some of these older games. The problem is that since it wasn't coded, it would require a complete update, sometimes even code work, which is a hassle, and a lot of developers aren't going to mess with that kind of stuff when it comes down to it. So, you're kind of stuck with what you have, unfortunately. But, like I said, Microsoft has been doing a lot of cool stuff lately, and this is one of the cooler ones. So I'm glad, you guys might want to mess with your settings and things like that. Let me know how that works out for you. I will link this in the description. Thanks for watching. I'm Crap Gamer. This has been Crap Gamer Reviews, as always, with another video. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.